Welcome to the Meltdown, the show where we cheese and tease, melting away barriers one bite after bite. I am Soya the Cow and I'm your host. And today my guest is the wonderful Anna Rosenwasser. She's an author, a journalist, and also now a politician. Anna has been working for many years as a political educator, as a public speaker, but also as a writer and journalist with her book Rosa Buch, published last year in 2023 and already in its third edition. Yeah. And last year you were elected for our Swiss National Parliament, which was a big surprise. I heard for you, maybe you can talk about it a bit later. But I'm most of all just really thrilled to have you here at my show, The Meltdown. And I want to know, what melts your heart?
What melts my heart are basically any sounds that cats make, even the sounds that I don't like in humans. For example, when humans eat and they do that, I hate it. It's super cringe to me, but if a cat does it, I somehow love it and it makes my heart melt.
Like when they vomit the hairballs?
No!
Like,
no, I hate that. No, that's terrible. No, that's terrible.
Not the vomiting.
No, not the vomiting. Everything except the vomiting. The purring. The purring, even the hissing.
Also?
Yeah, it's kind of cute. Like my own cat hisses when we play, so it's a playful hissing, and it's the cutest thing. It melts my heart.
Oh, that's really, really beautiful. You can pour really well, no?
I can. It's my number one superpower. Okay. It's not that loud, but I can try.
Well, I actually hear it. I don't think people at home can hear it, but it's actually really relaxing.
Thank you.
If you want to have a new career, you should do like AMSR with this kind of...
Right? Yeah, I thought about it, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So you love cats.
I do.
Yeah. And you call your fans and followers, you call them your bussies, your little kittens, right?
Yeah, I do. I like cats, so it's like a cute name, like a nickname for basically everyone. And it's also gender neutral, and it's a good way to not have to name people, because I tend to forget names. And since it's very asymmetrical, they know my name, but I don't know theirs. It's easier to call people Busy, I guess.
So when you have people on the streets who recognize you and they come say like, hey,
sometimes
Busy.
I say, hoi, Busy.
Oh, that's lovely.
Because it's very loving. It comes from a very loving place. But at the same time, I might not remember their name or pronouns. So Busy is kind of a workaround as well.
When did you have your last meltdown?
Only a few days ago, actually.
Was it something that you are comfortable about sharing?
Maybe I am. So, as with many meltdowns, it was a mix of different feelings and different stuff that was going on in my life. I just came home from a wonderful date, an overwhelmingly wonderful date. And then I had a very unexpected, quick fight with one of my siblings over text message. And everything just like melted together, and I just lay on my sofa crying. But it was good. Like the crying and the meltdown actually helped me to like find myself again in that moment.
So it's something you think like melting down for you is... Do you associate it with something rather positive, or is it something you try to avoid?
I associate it with something negative, actually. Like meltdown for me is not the positive kind of melting that we just talked about with the cat sounds, but more like the opposite. For me, meltdown is more of either a meltdown of feeling sad, angry, anxious, or probably a mix of all of them. Do you associate it with something positive?
I mean, now with this situation, I've been thinking a lot about like things that can melt down, like glaciers and our climate. And it's like, probably not the most positive thing. But there is something about melting which I think is very easing, because we have things that are solid that we transform into something liquid. And solid things is really hard to move. And when things become liquid, maybe they can become more fair, more justice, more equality, more, you can reshape things.
Yeah.
In that sense, maybe melting down is also is a step that we need to get away and get things that are like in our way, like too solid, and we need to melt them so we can change them.
Yeah.
Which maybe is the next question for you. Like, I mean, you're an activist, you're a politician, so obviously there is somewhere in you a desire to change things.
Yeah.
What are the things that are solid that you want to melt them away?
Oh. How we other people, how we view otherness as either something very glorified or something very vilified. Is that the word?
Yeah.
And that's something very, very solid. It's something I experience every day whenever I'm in the House of Parliament, because you can really feel the racism oozing out of every speech you hear there from the right-wing politicians. We have a very clear right-wing dominated parliament in Switzerland. And you can really feel and hear how this comes from a very solid, in a negative way, view on whose otherness is seen as dangerous and negative and whose otherness is seen as something enriching. So I would love to melt that down and create something new out of it.
What do you think could be a strategy to do that?
I think one thing we all need to do more, especially politicians, is to reflect on our emotional reactions on things that seem new to us, because we have a very human tendency to react with fear or even anger, to push it away. And I don't think we can avoid feeling that, but we can reflect on it and wonder why we react like this, and then choose to react differently. And I wish for every person to think about this and to melt down their negative feelings to something new, and maybe even turn them into curiosity and creativeness to actually find solutions instead of just pushing away and push back.
Which needs kind of this skill to intercept the immediate reaction that you have. Like if there's something new, like, ooh, I don't want it, to be like, why I don't know? There's something there. How did you start your journey on like being an activist? Was there a moment or a key experience that were like, wow, this is so upsetting, I need to do something?
It was the opposite, actually. I didn't view myself as a political being at all for quite a long time. I mean, from the age of 18 on, I had the right to vote and elect, and I sometimes just didn't. It never felt like, whatever was going on in the world never felt like it was connected to me in my life. So I didn't participate in anything that could be considered political. But in my 20s, I started to find out that I was queer myself, but queer people were not part of my surroundings. I grew up in a small village, and I started to seek community. And there was a specific moment where I entered the first queer event that I ever attended. It was the meeting of a young queer magazine where everyone could take part. And I was a journalist already, so I told myself, I'm going there because I'm a journalist. Somehow I needed that. And as I entered, I needed it because I didn't feel queer enough. I was in a relationship with a guy, and as a bisexual woman who likes to present rather on a feminine side, I didn't feel queer enough to attend anything queer. So I needed this idea of me as a journalist joining this magazine. And as I entered, there was like really, really quick, I realized I don't have to prove anything here. I am queer enough as I am. And that was really, because there were so many different people who lived their queerness in different ways. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
And I could feel it, that there was no wrong way for me to be queer and to be a bisexual woman.
I
And
think
that was
especially for bisexual people,
yeah.
it's such a difficult space to navigate between people who don't believe that you even exist, and from both sides. That's the worst, no?
And the general perception that there are only heterosexuals and homosexuals is also something very solid that needs to be melted down.
Yeah, maybe soon we put on the cheese for our vegan fondue, and then we can see if this notion melts away. But then, like, from this moment, okay, you enter this queer space as a journalist, just professionally.
Yeah, very professionally.
And then, I mean, years later, you become like managing director of the lesbian organization Switzerland.
Yeah.
You become one of the most important and famous voices for like queer issues and rights in Switzerland. How did this happen?
I wonder. Well, I stayed within that group of friends and group of activists of that initial meeting of that magazine. And they were the ones who asked me to be part of workshops and to be like more of an active part within activism. So this is how I started to realize how I felt rather comfortable to speak out. And I started realizing how what I experience is connected to structural inequalities. And that's what made me political. So in the beginning, there was like my wish for community, and community has always, it's always part of what I do. The lesbian organization, I applied as their director because they weren't, in my point of view, not inclusive enough in many ways. And I told myself, well, instead of just complaining, I might as well try and change it. And I did try.
How did that work for you?
It was certainly a very intense learning experience because whenever you fight for equality, you also have to ask yourself what kinds of discrimination you've internalized yourself. So that was intense. It was some intense 4 years, but I absolutely loved it. It made me more political. It was the first time where I actually like got more in touch with political parties and with votes that we have in Switzerland. Because I also worked as part of the campaign for marriage equality in Switzerland. And this is probably how I got a little bit into political parties.
Which was also a huge success. I mean, you were there in this period where we finally, like, same-sex marriage got allowed in Switzerland.
Yeah, there was also a discrimination law that was expanded to sexual orientation. So that was also a success, yeah.
How do these, like, queer topics for you interrelate with feminist topics? Because now it seems like these are really, like, important social issues for you. How are they connected in your life?
They're heavily intertwined. They heavily overlap. It's always about the social notion, what is supposed to be the right way of being a woman or the right way of being a man. It boils down to the traditional norms of how to live your gender. So
something else to melt away.
Yeah.
Last year, you were candidate for the parliament.
Yeah.
And you were, I mean, let's say more like, it was more, I read about it everywhere. You thought, okay, it's a way, I have a big following, maybe many young people or young women will go vote. Suddenly, you are elected by surprise.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, like statistically, it was very unlikely, very, very unlikely. And with no cell in my body, I believed that I had a chance.
But I think this is absolutely incredible. I mean, when it was a horrible day because, I mean, it was more right-wing politicians being elected again, less ecology, less climate action.
Yeah.
But seeing you elected, I was like, damn, like that's a little spark of hope. And it's been now a bit more than a year.
Yeah.
How is this experience for you? Is it different than expected? And where do you stand?
I had no expectations at all because before that I was official member of the Socialist Party, but of the Social Democrats. But I wasn't like active within the party, so I had no expectation whatsoever. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know what it means to be any part of a political party. And it was a very incredibly intense year, but I learned so much. And I think my biggest challenge every day is not to succumb to my insecurities, but instead try to just learn and accept that there is a good reason why everything is new to me here. And many people actually said with their vote that I can do this somehow. And I'm not in a hurry.
I voted for you. My grandmother voted for you.
Ah, now I know it was you. Okay.
Yes. So you have 3 more years now.
Yeah.
What are your goals? What would you like to achieve? I mean, you're suddenly in a position before, like in activism, we always like say the politics have to do this, the politicians should do this.
Yeah.
You changed side in a way. Now you are
you're right.
one person among many others making the actual laws and policies in our country. Where do you want to go with that?
So I was lucky enough to land in the Commission for Science, Education and Culture, where there are also some feminist issues as well as animal rights issues. So I will try and focus on that. Another aspect I love to do and that I'm already doing is showing the public what's going on inside. I love to show, especially young people, young women, young queer people, what politics is, what politics are.
I really can recommend people checking out Anna Rosenwasser's Instagram account.
Thank you.
It's so fascinating. It's suddenly like politics, which seems like something people speak about, politicians, those there, but no, it's human beings, and you give an insight that I personally have never seen before, and it's so valuable.
Thank you so much.
I want to come back to the animal rights. You mentioned animal rights as something that you care about in politics. How do people speak about cows in the parliament? Well,
They don't that often. They often don't, but I'm under the impression that animal rights is not an issue that is taken seriously enough by politicians. Even some left-wing politicians don't really take it seriously. And as most of the time, the rights of animals are viewed as the question of how to murder them more fairly instead of how to let them live. And cows, no, I think I've heard it more often as an insult than as a political issue so far.
As an insult in parliament?
Well, not officially, but like...
Backstage.
Backstage.
Well, you actually once told me that I should come visit you in the parliament,
yes.
And I'm looking forward for us to make such a date.
It will be amazing.
Speaking of cows and the Swiss parliament, maybe it's time to slowly starting to heat up our vegan fondue.
Please.
I mean, fondue, for those who are not Swiss, is a very traditional meal. It's usually done with cow's cheese, but as many traditions, there is a dark side to them.
Yes.
Many traditions, I mean, they're beautiful depending on the perspective. And me, myself, until I was 30, I didn't know that cows need to have a baby in order to have milk. Each year they're made pregnant, then the baby's taken away. It's usually slaughtered and transformed into veal. And the cow's milk is then used to make cheese, and the cheese is used to make fondue. And what seems like this very cute family dinner, we sit around the pot, it's actually full of violence. And it's damaging the climate. And one of my motivations to do this show was to show the guests, but also the audiences, that we can reinvent traditions and that we can do it newly, less harmfully. So now I would say I put this on. When was your last fondue? Vegan or not vegan?
Vegan one must be 2 years ago. I love it, but I'm sometimes a little too lazy to actually cook it myself.
I get it. This is a caclon. Here is the fondue. This one is made from cashew nuts by the Swiss vegan cheese company New Roots. It's made with ethically sourced organic cashews. And I have my nails. I would like to invite you to maybe just open it.
Of course.
And then you can squeeze it into the pot.
Okay.
It's a bit like, I mean, yeah, I don't know if the reference is good. Like milking or not milking, but yeah.
Ooh.
And while it's getting hot, we can hopefully witness something solid becoming liquid. Yeah, you can go a bit stronger. It's not so sensitive. Yes, okay.
Wait, there's more inside.
There's more, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's coming out your personality, or your person who is like, going till the end, every last drop has to come out, or...
I'm usually not a careful person, but I
That's
don't...
okay, but whenever you feel it's enough, you...
All right, there you go. Yeah.
Fondue, when people eat it, there's a few rules to respect. While it's getting warm, I will explain them to you. We will have bread. Maybe you can already put some on your plate. Just take a handful.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
You're hungry. Now you have to wait until it's creamy and liquid. Want some more?
Yes.
If you're hungry.
Yes.
So we will use these forks. Spare the bread, and then you make like little circles, ideally in number 8. When you lose your bread, historically, traditionally, you have to drink alcohol, or you have to run out into the snow, or you have to undress. There's lots of different games. It's kind of crazy. I mean, usually people drink and then the rules get worse. In our case, it's a bit different. We will drink some milk, a little shot.
What kind of milk?
It's actually a real human milk.
Ooh. I haven't had that for 34 years.
And here it is.
No way!
Yes. So this is 34 years?
Well, since I was a baby.
So this milk is actually from someone who donated it for us. I can show you a picture if you want.
Lovely.
Her name?
Oh my God.
Yes. Her name is Tiziana. And I made an open call looking for people who want to donate some human milk. And she was like, oh, I have lots of it in my freezer. My daughter doesn't want to drink it anymore. So now I have it.
Oh God.
Are you scared?
Kind of. It's interesting because people are always like, they're always appalled by the thought of drinking human milk, even though it might be the only milk where someone actually gives it, like donates it.
With consent,
With
no?
consent.
Yeah. And no baby got hurt.
Yeah.
So this is Tiziana.
Hoi Tiziana, hoi samen. Thank you for the milk.
Cute, no? Well, so this is a little surprise.
Wow. I wonder how it tastes.
I also wonder if it's the same taste every day, or if it's changing with what they eat.
Oh God.
So while we eat, I will also ask you some other questions.
All right.
Can be different things. Some of them are very short. You can just like pick an answer. You can also elaborate more deeply.
Sure.
I will just check the state. Nah, it's getting a bit more. I mean, if you heat it too much, it will separate into its different ingredients.
Oh yeah.
That's also something we actually don't want yet. Maybe one more question while we're waiting.
Sure.
If we melt it down completely, what makes you you?
I feel like everything in life that makes me happy makes me me. Like the excitingly happy. We have a word in German, entzückt. I don't know what, like delighted in some way.
Yeah.
Like lovingly delighted. I feel like everything that can give me that feeling makes me me.
It's these kind of moments where you feel you're most you.
Yeah, very much so.
I hope that Tiziana's milk will make you delighted. We will see if that works or not.
Oh, God.
Now I have to check out where other cards. They're down here somewhere. This cow can become a bit messy sometimes. Okay, more questions.
All right.
I mean, this one is very easy. Do you prefer cow cheese or vegan cheese?
Oh, vegan cheese.
Yeah, in your case, I know. Do you prefer stability or constant change?
Ooh, probably constant change. It's more exciting, and somehow my brain needs excitement all the time in order to work better. So
otherwise, what happens?
I'll get bored and disorganized. Weirdly enough, I get more disorganized by stability than by change. For example, I need to change my to-do system every few months in order to
To do your
keep
to-dos.
to keep organized. My brain gets bored very easily.
Okay,
So yeah,
interesting.
change.
Okay. Fresh fruit or dried fruit?
Dried fruit.
Really?
I know it makes me seem like I don't have a soul, but I love dried fruit.
What about it?
It's more chewy.
Oh, wow, you like chewy.
I like chewy. I prefer chewy to oozy. To juicy. I really like, for example, mangoes.
The dried mangoes, oh no, I have them in
I
my
love
teeth.
dried mango.
God. But it's interesting. It's kind of the opposite of melting down something. It's like drying it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Do you feel more yourself in silence or in conversation?
Ooh, in conversation. Sometimes I can only know what I think and feel when I am in a dialogue about it.
Yeah, but you're often in dialogue. You're
I am very
public. I guess you receive like hundreds of messages each day from people.
I do.
How do you deal with all this visibility and attention?
That's a bigger question. It's a question I try to ask myself very often in order to also stay conscious about what a privilege it is to have more of a platform, to have more people listening to you, to have people believing you. It's, first of all, it's lovely. I love it. I think it's so delightful to be perceived by so many people and to receive so many messages of appreciation, either just one-on-one, face-to-face, or also in written messages. I wish every person to have this much support as I do. So first of all, it's absolutely lovely.
That's beautiful to hear.
It's also super weird. I don't think that anyone is made for this lack of symmetry. Like they have, like, so many people have a concept of who I am and I have no concept of who they are. That's so fucking weird if you think about it. It's so weird. And I, like, in the German-speaking part of Switzerland, sometimes I feel like I can never be sure to be anonymous, just existing in general.
Do you get these moments where you feel you can just...
Where I'm, well, of course, yeah, like with my friends or if I'm abroad.
Yeah.
But whenever I consider myself anonymous within the German-speaking part of Switzerland, someone proves me wrong. And sometimes that's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Have you learned to deal with it?
I am learning to deal with it. And also I'm learning to deal with the fact that people will always have a concept of me and that this is different of who I am, no matter how authentic I try to be.
But don't you think in a way we also have that with ourselves? That we have our concepts of ourselves and then...
Of course.
It might be even more limiting than the concept that others project on us.
Yeah, but at least the concept of ourselves is something that we decided on, right?
Did you? I
confused the cow.
I mean, I wish, but sometimes I'm like, how the fuck did I end up here? Like, I think it's ready. Should we give it a try?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'm very curious what you think.
Oh, now the 8.
If you want.
The infinity sign.
And I hope you manage to eat it without ruining your nice clothes.
Should be fine. They can be washed. I usually place it I place it in my plate to just let it cool down.
Well, I'm not so skillful. I will just put it in my mouth.
That it has nothing to do with skillfulness.
It's not warm enough yet.
Oh, isn't it? Okay. You're having it on maximum. Okay.
I think so.
Now I can't eat it because I'm really hungry. Oh, I see.
I mean, the taste is really good. You like it? Well, I'll ask you another question. It's a bit a dark one. What scares you more, dying or being dead?
Wow. Dying, I guess. I don't mind the fact that we will be all dead at some point, but I don't like the thought of dying.
Because we don't know how it's happening.
Yep. And when. Yeah.
When you say we will all be dead, who is we?
Everyone. Every living being. No.
But
Yeah.
not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Do you think of extinction and like with climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis and this, I mean, we know like the species going extinct, or I mean, life also for humans getting in some regions already is really, really difficult, and it's just getting worse. How is this impacting your thoughts and your activism, your politics?
This is a topic that I have a slight tendency to suppress, I guess less than the average human, because otherwise we wouldn't be at this point where we are. And the only way I can handle it is to do whatever I can instead of desperation. That's how I handle it. How do you handle it?
Sometimes I feel very crushed, actually, to be honest. Yeah. Like if I read about now I was just reading about like the krill fishing in the Antarctic Ocean, and basically it's the source for food for the whales, for the penguins, for everybody, for all animals living there, and now it's used in fisheries for omega-3, it's used to color like farmed salmon, it's used to make cat food. And it's like we're literally killing this entire like mostly wild ecosystem because we want to have supplements that we couldn't have from algae as well. So I read these things and it can be very paralyzing, but then also I feel like it's also motivating me, and like, if not us, who is going to speak up? And I dress up as a drag cow so I can talk about animals and the climate. And should we give it another try?
We should.
It's getting dark, so we need some hearty food.
And I think the key of dealing with the dark stuff is trying to let it coexist with the light stuff.
I agree.
To
Coming.
Yes.
You like
I'm
it?
too hungry. I want to.
Good, eh?
Oh, I want to binge.
We can go on if you want. Aye. How do you like the taste?
I love it, actually. I really
it's
like
actually
it.
much lighter than the fondue, the way I remember it from before I was vegan, because I always had like stomach problems after, like.
Yeah, with cow fondue, I remember always being crushed afterwards and not being able to move, and it was a terrible feeling. I didn't like it.
It's true.
Even though I liked the taste, I still like it. Oh.
Ready for more questions?
Yes.
Do you self-identify as an animal or as a human?
As a human animal.
Oh.
I think that's the. I mean.
Should we replace every time we say human and say human animal?
No. I mean, we're humans as well. But
people forget that when we say human, they really think of it as two separate categories. There's animals and there's humans. Like humans were the only, like the separate species. I think cows think they're special. Flamingos think they're special.
You think?
Don't you think?
If I was a flamingo, I would sure think I was special. I mean, they are. Did you always like cows?
I actually... Oh no, I don't know if I should say that on camera. I actually feel I like much more like chickens. My personality is much more a chicken than a cow. But I just thought like the symbol of cows, the methane, the burgers, the milk, and it's all so confusing. I mean, it's that's why I wanted to be a cow.
And especially how cows are portrayed. They're always portrayed as gladly serving humans while they're being on a meadow outside, just
but
happily
most cows,
existing.
they are not on the meadow, or if only a few months a year, and the rest they're locked up. I mean, it's nobody talks about the babies. I mean, this is it's nice to talk about these things. To be honest, would you ever be an animal in drag, or what kind of animal?
So far, I've only tried to be a drag king, and I didn't really like it. I didn't, it wasn't my thing at all every time I tried it.
As a drag king?
As a drag king.
Yeah.
So I kind of chose to be part of the audience when it comes to drag. But as a drag animal, a tiger?
We go back to the cats. A tiger will make like...
A hissing tiger. Maybe a tiger.
Vomiting hairballs and undigested animals.
No, tigers don't vomit. Do they? Imagine a tiger like,
Now you make it look like you don't like the fondue.
I do.
You're very skilled with the fondue, no?
Am I?
Yeah, I'm a bit afraid that you're never going to lose a piece of bread.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Are you curious to try the milk even though you don't lose the
I'm
bread?
curious and scared, but curious and scared in the end is curious nonetheless. So I think I will try anyway.
You want to try?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, God.
I'm going to try with you.
Okay.
I will prepare it. So
Wow. Okay.
that's the milk that Tiziana gave us. And the fun fact about Tiziana, she's actually an art historian who wrote a PhD about representations of Mother Mary breastfeeding Jesus.
No.
Yes.
And now
No
she's
joke.
kind of indirectly breastfeeding us.
She's breastfeeding us. Do you want a big shot or a small shot?
A small shot. It's, it's so engraved in me, this social notion that what we're doing is weird, even though this is the only milk that is made for us.
I know, it's crazy. It feels weird, but weird, what is weird? Like
Right?
it's just what things we learn.
Yeah,
And we need to
very
unlearn
much.
a lot of things.
Oh,
So
do we do it as a shot or do we?
I would suggest we first nibble and then we do it as a shot.
Oh God.
What do you do you have a wish?
For food to not only be delicious, but also to be fair.
Yeah.
Cheers. Huh, this is sweet.
It's
Huh. It's not that far away from what I remember to be cow's milk.
really,
Is
the
this?
aftertaste is a little bit like,
Yeah.
but the first part I like.
Yeah. Same. This is what we used to drink 34 and 40 years ago.
Exactly, 39
Wow.
actually. The
Entschuldigung.
cow is young. It's not bad. I'm actually positively surprised.
I'm intrigued.
Do you think we should do a business out of it?
No. Because I'm sure it will be fetishized.
Yeah, but if mothers who are in a difficult situation in this country, because Switzerland is not very much supporting like young families,
Well,
you don't agree?
well, I'll let you know when I have some spare time for a new project.
It's not going to happen immediately. So I think we should enjoy the last bits of fondue, and I just have a few more questions to
Please.
you. I wanted to ask you something about hope, because you seem somebody who wants to see like positive perspectives. No, you
Yes.
talk about being delighted, and
Yeah.
what gives you hope?
Well, first of all, for me, hope is not the same as optimism. I don't strive for thinking everything is going to be all right, because that's not the case, obviously. And I think it's important to not suppress and ignore everything bad that is going on in the world. In order to experience something like hope, we need to go through the very painful process of accepting how bad things can be and how bad some things are. Hope for me is the coexistence of a positive focus with the ongoing process of acceptance of everything bad. I don't want any kind of toxic positivity that acts like everything is good. That's also not healthy for mental health, by the way, in contrary to popular belief. And then, based on all of this, hope for me is to see the good and to try your best to be part of what's becoming better. Hope for me is always a verb and never a noun. It's always something that you do in very close connection to community instead of just being on your own, because it will make you miserable and lonely. So hope for me is a collective focus on the positive while accepting the negative.
Thank you so much. This is really, really beautiful. Maybe we can leave it like this to our listeners. I would like to invite you for one last thing. If you want, it would be nice if we could move together.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever mooed?
Sure. Yes, not too often. It's not exactly a hobby of mine.
Cows don't do it usually, actually. They moo only when there's a problem. Otherwise, they communicate with much
Really?
lower sounds. Yeah, yeah. The mooing is like, hey, careful, or I'm hungry, or there's painful, or it's not their normal communication.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they communicate like much more like your cats do. Like, but if that's okay for you, I would just
Okay.
invite you to breathe in with me, and then we moo.
All right, cool. Never
Should we
done it
move
in
to the
front.
camera?
Yeah, I've never done it in front of any camera.
Okay. Hi, so we're going to moo. If you want, at home, you can moo with us. It's been lovely to have you following, listening, watching the conversation. Anna, also thank you so much for being here, for sharing everything you do, your insights, your being, for trying the milk, for trying the fondue, for
Thank you
speaking
for
about
having
so
me.
many things. It's been a big, big pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine.
Ready?
Ready. You're good. You
I
do this.
practice. It's been 6 years I practiced.